Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Cerberus at the Improv. The three of us have reconciled our differences, and we're back as co-hosts. I am Payman Ascari. I'm joined by Mr. Timothy Knight. Tim, how's it going?
No more mean tweets about how payment did me wrong. He took away all my Tesla money. Now we're friends again.
Do I sense PDS, payment derangement syndrome?
Payment derangement system. No payment from payment.
Well, it's good to be back with you, Tim. Andre, same with you. It's been a couple of weeks. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Yesterday I was singing in my garden, and an employee from the town hall arrived and asked me if I had a permit. So I said no, and he fined me. So I will go to.
Were you singing a Christian song?
No, it's not because I was singing. It's because I was. I think you should not want. You don't want to ask me to sing because we will lose all our viewers.
No.
I'm fine. I'm happy to be back with both of you.
That's a pretty good voice.
Everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I can't sing. Two things I can't do: sing or dance.
No, I've been to enough meetings where we open with the Canadian anthem and nobody wants to start, so I end up doing it, which is fine because it's the Canadian anthem, and that's fine. But it's just
the lyrics are beautiful too.
You know what's funny is I wish I could sing it in French because the French is better.
Well, it's different. It's different. I've listened to both of them, and I like both of them because you know the rhyme.
I think you suffer from frank guilt.
You're a self-hating Quebecer.
No. Like Tim always says, he hates everybody equally.
I hate everybody equally. Yeah.
You know, I pay attention to what you're saying, Tim Knight, sometimes.
It's using my full name now. I'm in trouble. Okay, Payment, help me out here. Keep talking.
Oh man, I'm the wrong guy to task for that.
Right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what do we have in store for today? It's what's on the screen. I'm not going to read it. I'm too tired. Let's start with.
We're going to do it in reverse order because why not?
Yeah, because we're so organized. So the gentleman whose name I don't even know, Sean or Chris or something.
Sean Fusht.
There we go. Thank you to my colleague for helping me out.
It's been 4 days that I practice.
4 days he's been practicing. That's funny. Yeah.
So I'll tell you what I thought. I saw this happening, and I said I'm sick and tired of falling victim to all of these culture wars, social wars. So I haven't really formulated an opinion besides the fact that it's clearly stupid. I don't know what the hell whatever Canada does is stupid. But Tim, can you walk us through what exactly happened?
So what you have is a Christian artist who is affiliated with MAGA coming into Canada for a series of prearranged concerts across various Christian churches across Canada and in outdoor venues as well. The left found out about it, and they cried their big alligator tears, not only because he was Christian, but because he is an open MAGA supporter. And in the elbows up environment in which we live, this is getting harder to do when you're fat. The elbows up environment meant that the anti-MAGA gave them greater authority to impinge on freedom of religion and freedom of assembly in Canada to a point where, was it a Ontario church or a Quebec church?
Montreal.
So, the Montreal, and Andre's muted.
Sorry, Montreal. Montreal is not
Montreal.
Quebec.
Right. So the police actually entered the church to stop this event. And immediately I'm reminded of Arthur Pawlowski during COVID. And the difference is what happened to the church. We actually ended up letting protesters in to create trouble. And some of it involved the pyrotechnic of sparkler or firecracker or something.
No, it was a smoke bomb. It was a smoke bomb.
And the police permitted this to unfold. So that's aiding and abetting, plain and simple. So you have our justice system is in one hand enforcing a particular secularist code, right? By saying, there's no religion. And then on the other hand, the justice system steps back and allows the Reds to come in and cause their trouble. And
The red.
right, basically.
Okay.
And
I like that.
right? And it's what's really happening is it's a push against freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, freedom of association. All right, and then all the other freedoms are wrapped in on this. These are fundamental. These are actually guaranteed in the Constitution, guaranteed in the Charter, to be able to practice these things in your own church. He has made plans to put on a show at Mill Lake Park, which is in Abbotsford, and that's a half-hour west drive of where I live. And I put on outdoor events in the Fraser Valley in BC before. So you get in touch with Parks and Rec and you apply for a permit. It's not so much a permit as it is if it's outdoors, they cordon off a particular zone of a public park. So that is designated as yours. And then you can assemble in that area for that particular given period of time. And Parks and Rec actually does some preparatory work in order to make that happen. So that element is involved there. In addition, because it is a private event or on public space, you are required to have third-party liability insurance. So that's a natural part of applying to have an outdoor event here in BC anyway. When they applied, they went, well, who are you? And oh no, we're not letting you do it. And their reason was effectively born out of what happened in Montreal, this little preventative medicine thing they used, which is to say, excuse me, we're concerned about safety, but what they're not saying is it's not the safe behavior of the participants, it's the unsafe behavior of leftist protesters who were preparing to cause trouble at the event. So rather than police the event, right, or make a public statement, you don't interfere with this, they shut it down. Well, they prevented it from happening in the first place, which is a complete abdication of the Charter and the Constitution.
Andre, do you want to?
No, of course, I was waiting. I'm polite usually, not always. I want to go back to something Tim said. He was talking about Arthur Paslowski. I saw the small video that was posted many years ago, 4 years ago, when he was facing police in the church. There were 6 agents of police with masks. You remember the COVID mandate and everything. And he's screaming at them, "Get out, you're Nazi, you're fascist, you don't have the right to come here," quote. "You have to get out. If you want to come here, you have to come with a warrant." And it's a 3-4 minute clip. Yeah. It's very symptomatic about what is happening. And why I refer to this small clip is because he stood up to the police and he was alone in the church and he was screaming, like he was not afraid to raise his tone up to the point where he was screaming. If we go back to the small event in Montreal, Sean First is singing. And you see it because Alexandra Lavoie from Rebel News, she was filming from the inside. And she was also seeing all the mob outside was doing manifestation, but very aggressively. You say, wait a second, this is a church. You're supposed to be able to worship whoever you want. It's a Catholic church, or you worship God. And it's very peaceful inside. People are singing. And the man goes in, they filmed him. And it does not surprise me from Montreal police because their modus operandi is tear gas. They always use tear gas. And they are thugs. When the smoke bomb was thrown at Sean First, the man could go out. They filmed him. And the mayor of Montreal, which is a complete lunatic woke, the WEF slave, they decided to fine the church $2,500 because I don't even know if it's because he didn't have a permit. And people start to say, wait, you need a permit to sing in a church? You will ban all church on Sunday morning because they use an organ and they start to sing together. That's the first point. The second point, when the man got out, he was identified, and the Montreal police didn't do nothing. Now they're trying to find him. The day after, Alexandra Lavoie went back, and there was a manifestation against for Palestine, and there was a group of idiots, like I call them, Quebec nationalists. They, long beard, very vulgar people, and they started to push Alexandra Lavoie up to the point where one of the men took her microphone very aggressively, and the police arrived and they started to push Alexandra Lavoie. Says, "You're not welcome here. I'm sorry, this is a public place. She has the right to be there. She has the right to put a microphone because it's an event." And they were doing a manifestation, no permit. You don't need a permit to ask the king or the crown or whatever. You don't have a permit. You go there and you do a manifestation. In Montreal, since 2012, the Red Square, the manifestation from students, they were asking permit. Now it is like everybody can do a manifestation if it is sponsored by George Soros. It is not a problem. So there's bystander always, and after that, the movement started to the pace of the movement started to increase. It touched Ontario, Alberta, BC, and everybody was canceling the show. I like this expression, cancel. I'm canceled. There's no freedom of expression in Canada anymore. It does not exist. The Charter of Right was violated so many times that it has no more value. You can just go to the bathroom and wipe your ass with it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So we have to ask ourselves, not only as Christian, but as citizens, what they want to do with freedom of expression. If it does not exist anymore, that's why I say it's a Bolshevik state. It's not even an authoritarian state. Maybe soon we will be censored. I will tell you something. Yesterday at the Duma in Russia, they passed a law to prohibit VPN, virtual private network. They're doing it everywhere. So people who try to escape from the censorship, they're caught and they're fined. That's what we're seeing with Sean First. And I think Tim mentioned it. He's pro-MAGA, he's Christian, and he's worshiping God, which is normal. Then you see another tour. They call this a tour, which there's a tour of an imam associated with the Muslim Brotherhood. And he's doing a tour in Canada where he's saying that they will take Canada. It will be a caliphate, and nobody's reacting. How come Christians are not on the street and saying opposing? They are not doing it because they want to respect what we say. Freedom of expression does not exist anymore in Canada.
No, I disagree. They do not want to express or protect freedom of expression. Well, they are yellow-bellied cowards.
Well, I try to be more diplomatic than you, but we
don't have time to be diplomatic. We no longer have time to be diplomatic.
I do it, but as a Christian, I should be out in the street.
I'm going to mention two things. See if I can get through this entire sentence. The first of all, when Billboard Chris in Vancouver, he got beat up by a bunch of LGBTQ activists, and the cops were, they're just laughing at him. They didn't attack him. They didn't say it was your fault, but they're just like, we're following orders. That would be my first thing, Andre. I'll ask you to respond. Is that the same thing in Montreal, or you're painting a picture where the Montreal police are actually coming and saying, we don't want you here?
They are pushing, because when Alexandra Lavoie from Rebel News was there covering a small event, they arrived and they said, and I quote, they said, "You're not welcome here." The man is, he's equipped with a bullet vest and he's very big compared to Alexandra Lavoie. She's a young woman. And he's pushing her. He's walking toward her, and she said, "You are trespassing. I'm on the public in a public space, and there are four policemen around her. So intimidation, provoke. They want her to react. They want her to react aggressively. Thank God she does not. I think she's professional enough, and they're pushing." But it's not only in Montreal. I think we saw this in Brampton, Ontario. We saw this in some place in Nova Scotia. It happened too. So you have this tendency, and what is fascinating, Alexandra Lava, she was asking the policeman, she says, I'm on a public place, why you defend them and you don't defend me? Because, and the man said, the policeman said, I just follow order. There are municipal election in October in Quebec. He said, I just follow order. If you want order to change the head. Meaning don't vote for Valérie Plante, and Valérie Plante, she's not running again in October. So the policemen, they're not that stupid. They know what is happening. I'm not sure that they agree with everything, but they have to follow orders. And like you said, they follow orders.
So why don't they just put on the brown shirts and be honest about it?
Maybe it will come. Maybe it will come.
Right. And the one officer that said, if you want to change it, then vote someone else. If that's him dog whistling saying, I really don't want to do this, please help. Could be. If it is, yeah, but you're the 250-pound Gronk. Man up.
He doesn't. He should not be afraid.
Now I'm going to go on a rant. So you've been warned. Bureaucrats, professionals, nurses, doctors, cops, firemen, paramedics, these executives, these executive level citizens are turning tail because their livelihood is on the line, right? I get it.
Yes,
so
yes.
They're up to their neck in plastic because that's where they live their lives, and I get it. So what's wrong that they can't talk amongst themselves and say, listen, I'm going to go out and I'm going to say something and I'm going to get fired for it. And his buddies say, that's okay. We'll make sure your bills get paid. And to create solidarity, where's Lech Walesa? Right? Where is that? Instead of being Canadian and banding together and saying, we're going to say the hard thing together, they choose to put on the brown shirt. And then they look at a 5-foot tall young woman and say, save me. What? I don't buy it. I just don't.
I do agree with you. I do. I think it was provocative. They're not that intelligent in the police. Officer, they're not that intelligent. The purpose of a police is supposedly to defend citizens. It is not true. This is not true.
Yeah.
At all.
Years ago, I know, sorry to interrupt again. Years ago, I know that when they were in the interview process and profiling police, they were profiling for the white knight, intentionally profiling for the protector. They're profiling for the big bear because they wanted that character. Now they're profiling for the brute. They're profiling for the bully, people who will naturally do the unpleasant things and act according to, like you say, we're only doing what we're told. And I just don't accept it. I don't accept it.
I had a friend, his father lived through Hitler's Germany, and he was staunchly anti-Nazi. And he described Nazism as extreme Keynesianism. And he goes, basically, Nazism is print money, you don't have to pay back the debts, and the government wiped out the money, basically inflated the money to nothing. So people were dependent on the government for jobs. They couldn't be dependent on their savings. And then when they asked the soldiers, why did you kill all these people? The soldiers like, well, if I didn't follow orders, I couldn't get my money and my family would starve. So maybe our police in Canada have some, like a smaller, slighter version of that.
They do. I agree with that. I agree. And I just finished saying that. I understand that that some who are not morally in line with the things that they are doing are going along because they have debt to pay. They have children to bring to soccer practice, and they need to pay their truck, their mortgage, and they et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I get it. But my God, man, you're the fucking police. Do you not have any associations, no networks, nobody you can reach out to? Are you all little tiny islands in the middle of a great big frothing sea where you go wherever the wave tells you to go? I don't buy it. I don't accept it.
One thing you're saying, Tim, is they are isolated. It's their small world, friends and family, and they will defend this as long as they will defend this and they will not react as long as it doesn't touch them.
No, when this, and I understand the isolation comment. I really do. But
I do. I'm not saying I approve. I approve that.
Right. When they walk into a store that I'm in, or down the street where I'm at, and they're 6 foot tall and packing 20 pounds of body armor, a taser, a handgun, an extra magazine of rounds, right, and all the other accoutrement, and their big fat thumbs sticking out of their titties underneath their vest, being all this. How do I compete against that? How do I so the idea that they're alone and lonely, fuck that. If these been walking around with a sidearm, capable of doing whatever they need to do in the moment, and they will not do the right thing. It's bullshit.
Well, what I can say toward what you just said is we can refer to courage. Just before the live, we were backstage, and you were looking at my Canadian arm, holding my microphone. I have a beautiful microphone and everything. And all the technique, the bullshit technique, does not help me if I have a mobile phone and I Google everything. I look very intelligent. Policemen, they are surrounded. Like you said, they have a bullet vest, they have a taser, they have a gun. They go 5 times in the gyms per week. They look like more bigger than Schwarzenegger, but they have no sense of duty, no sense. They don't have any sense of moral duty, critical thinking. You listen to them. When I refer to the small clip of Alexandra Lavoie, you listen to them. They're laughing. Don't forget, in 2022, there were RCMP recording from agent in RCMP making fun of people in Ottawa, the Freedom Convoy. They were laughing and they were bidding each other who would aggress a manifestant and the freedom. And it was leaked. And they laugh like it does not touch them at all. That's the sign of a psychopath. That's the sign of a psych. They are not connected with reality because they're very big. They have technology around them. They think that they're superhero. I'm sorry, I do agree with you, Tim. They're not defending their individual rights or something like that. They are part of a system.
The only thing that gives the mayoralty the ability to take the abuses and largesse they do with the population is the thugs in blue who do their job for them. If the police said, no, this is wrong, we're not doing it, that's the end of it, that mayor would be like, yeah, he'll push back, he'll be ridiculous. They'll have their internal civil war, but it needs to be done. And I said the same thing during the COVID madness. I said, small businesses need to stop remitting taxes. That's how you fight back. And everybody else who said, I can't do that because the CRA will crucify me. It'll cost $300,000 in court costs, and they'll end me. I'm like, you, but 100,000 of you, no. And that's the problem, is when one doesn't, the rest won't either.
There's one thing, there was one.
Right? The beauty of social media is when one does, the whole world sees it. That's the capacity, right? That's the capacity. That's what it can do.
These dramatic pauses, man, they're killing us, Tim.
Well, I admit a unnatural fondness for William Shatner.
What you're saying, what you're referring, I think there was a comment from Suket and Dyer about journalism, repressing journalism. No, repressing rebel news, repressing people who dare to take risk to cover an event, because they will never repress the CBC, they will never repress the National Post. The CBC, they were in Ottawa, and I'm sure you remember the event with the swastika and the flag. They stage it. They focus on the flag. and maybe
Yeah.
it's an RCMP agent. They do not permit freedom of speech. That does not exist anymore. It's only propaganda.
So what happens when you European white trash in a fancy public vest have paved the way for the next caliphate? Then what? What did they promise you? 72 virgins? Because that's where you're going when they take control. And that's a fact.
Well, the clash.
Right?
The
What do you
clash.
want? So, right? So you go and do the dirty work of the far left or the Marxists. And to be honest, I think that the Marxists are using the Muslim Brotherhood, right? Or the Muslim Brotherhood thinks they're using Marxism. They both think they're using each other. And in the meantime, us normal citizens are getting run roughshod by both sides. Are we satisfied to pay dimitude? Which ones will be chosen to pay dimitude? Which ones? Right? Will it be the upper echelon of our society that are supposed to be our bulwark against enemies external and right from within and without? Yeah, that's an American phrase, but so what? It's true, right? Where are our protectors? Where are those who have sworn to protect us? Is the crown satisfied to kill us in some vain idea that they're going to replace us with a more banal population, because that banal population has global designs, and that's just a fact, right? Does Starmer think he's going to pay dimitude, or does he think he's going to get? He'll be the first one on the stake, because they'll make an example out of him in order. This is history. This is the way it's done. This is what happens before Nero, right? When not quite the same, but the idea is those who help me get to my position of power are the first ones on the cross. They have to. They have to be. It's Machiavelli. The ones who got me. It's Lenin and Stalin. It's the purges. It has to be done. What fools are these mayors and then leaders of ours who think that they can accept the pay of these external agencies, WEF or whoever, and not pay the price when they're going to go under the steamroller the same as the rest of us.
Well, it is Faust. It is Mephistopheles and Faust.
Yes.
And they're not aware that when they sign a deal with the devil, all those mayor of woke cities, 15-minute cities who control their police and repress. I think about bike lane, and so when you think about a manifestation like this, you see Palestinian flag everywhere. There's a genocide in Gaza now. I don't deny this fact, but the idea is that I saw another clip. It was quite funny. A man is in front of a hot dog shop, and he's saying, "You're a supremacist. You're creating an Holocaust." The man says, "I'm selling hot dogs. What do you want?" And it is like they're starting to be extremely aggressive. The left is always aggressive because they are lunatics. They are in free fall. They don't control their emotion anymore, and it will end up very badly.
So let's hop back. Sorry to cut you off again. I do it really good though. And sometimes it's useful.
Do it very well.
Let's go back to Rodney King. I do it really good. Every word is intentional except the ones that aren't. Here's another pregnant pause to make that land the right way. Rodney King, right? There were so many people that took advantage of the weakness in the system and the abuses that were happening in that 2 or 3 square blocks. And that's how the riots really took off. We have the same problem here. Is there are those small instigators who are key instigators, and social media blows them all up. And before you know it, everybody who can take advantage around it is taking advantage. And if I'm responsible for risk management in an event, I know this. And if I want the risk management to go through the floor and have this escalate, I'm going to permit it.
I was going to say the three of us were old. I mean, I'm 42 almost. You guys are a little bit older. These cops that they're bringing in, some of them are 20. they grew up in this world of activism where, you know, they think that they're morally superior. Trans rights are human rights. Timothy Knight's an old bigot. So that when they attack you and they say, Andre, like they said to that journalist, you don't have a right to be here, they actually believe that.
Of
You know,
course.
like a
Of
terrorist
course.
with a bomb strapped to their chest or something.
You know, they live in virtual reality. I can have a thug in front of me that is 2 times my size, and he will say, "Hey, boomer," because this expression is very pejorative. "Hey, boomer, move out of my way." And I would say, I would be very polite and gentle. I will say, "I'm 65. Maybe you will not reach my age if you don't move." So I honestly, being diplomatic doesn't mean that you have to accept everything. One day you have your moment of history, your moment of courage, and you have to stand up. I think about Arthur Paslovsky. He was practically the only one in Canada who stood up in a church like this. I saw churches close here. I saw some priests saying that we have to comply with the government. No, you don't. Give back to Caesar what is to Caesar, and give back to God what is to God in the church. And that's why I refer to Canadian Bolshevik Corporation. In the church, the priest is king because he's representing God. That's Christianity, and this is the core value of Canada. And what they're trying to do now is they're trying to depict or represent Christian as aggressive, the white supremacists and everything. I don't care. Honestly, if I would say, I will talk about for Quebec. France lost in 1759. Get over it. Like I always say. Like I always say in French, welcome to Canada. Meaning that you lost. You have 2 founding people. If we can unite each other, we could respect both language and both would say structure of culture. But I'm sorry, and then for the native people, it's the same thing. You lost. So you don't have more rights than me. I'm sorry, that does not exist in reality, because I will defend my land. And this is where the crown, I will make the difference between the crown and the king. This is where the crown doesn't like people who will defy the authority of the king. And when you defy the authority of the king, I have a friend who moved to Michigan now. I asked him yesterday, I said, can I go as a political dissident? Will you accept me? And he started to laugh. And I said, maybe it's not a joke, because the way we are going now, it's accelerating. Where it will stop, it will not stop unless we stop them.
Can I jump in here real quick? Andre mentioned the crown, and he said, I'm going to defend my land. Have we gotten to the point where we have absolutely no property rights, that now a church can't have someone singing in the church without a permit? Have we already come there?
Yes, exactly.
So I wasn't really wanting to make this public knowledge, but I watched the documentary Canada the Illusion, and if there's any credibility, and I know I'm late to the party, I get it, usually am, but looking at it with what I know about constitutional law and Canadian history, if that is the case, then the concept of you owning land is not possible under a crown. It's not possible.
It is not. And don't forget one thing. If you compare United States with Canada, United States, you have a small land. Yes, I'm on fire. You have a small land, and suddenly with your shovel, you're digging something, not a corpse for a corpse, but you're digging because you want to grow vegetable, and you hit an oil nerve, and then you say, shit, I discovered oil. All the oil company arrived, they want to offer you $1 million, and they bid because they want, and you say, no, I will operate it myself. Here, when you find natural resource on the ground, under your feet, that's it. It's not yours. In Canada, it is not yours. The land is not yours. Then I'm sorry. we talk about private property. If we don't have private property, and we always talk about crown land, we talk about private property. I'm sorry, we have to defend that. Don't forget that there was a park where Sean First was supposed to perform, and they forbid him to perform. It is free. It is free. He goes to sing. I could go with a guitar and start to sing, and I will attract people, and I will have a hat, and they will throw money, and some idiot will arrive and ask me, I need a permit. That's Sovietization of life. Sovietization of life. Mark my word. And you were talking, Tim. You were talking about I forgot what I wanted to say. It's okay. I'm finished.
If let's extrapolate. If this thing about Canada being duped into believing it is a sovereign state in order for Britain to use Canadian resources to pay its debt to America from losing the Civil War, which is the original premise, apparently, right? If that's the case, and if that still exists today, not in law, but in practice, then that church had no authority except that which the law, or those who wield the law, deign to give it, right? Which means a church being on quote unquote sacred land, right? It's the government does not interfere, doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Allow me to differentiate. If everything, either the BNA Act is a sham, and that we are not actually sovereign, but we remain colonists, if that is the case, up until Victoria, if that is the case, then everything we have and do does not belong to us. Believing that everything we have and do is solely ours is an illusion, which means this fella comes up to the church and protests. The police officers, being agents of the Crown, right? Crown Corporation, not agents of the King, who is no longer sovereign, but the Crown Corporation, who we call the Crown. Then the police have every authority to walk in, and they don't need to give any notice, nothing. So the only reason the police regarding Pulowski backed off is because he filmed it, and the public outcry would have been crazy. But they got him later because they threw him in jail and tried very actively to bribe and or starve him out and or kill him. Right?
Well, of course. Pulowski was punished because he stood up to what you said. The corporate crown, 17th century. The King of England started to was completely bankrupt, and the King of England had to permit people to loot the church at the time to deprive them from their sovereignty. That's 400 years ago. So that's quite. It's not a new. It's not a recent event. You fast forward 400 years. Now they're just applying what they're doing since 400 years. You know, when the regime or the system starts to collapse, at the end of it, it starts to be more aggressive and violent. I will just end on what I forgot. You know, you're talking about Nero and the empire is going down on flame. Nero now is out of politics, and he's mountain hiking. Trudeau. But he burned Canada for 10 years, 11 years, and now you have a Machiavellian character, Carney, who will finish the job. They say will finish the job. Yeah. It will be the Islamization of
Machiavellian. You said he was Machiavellian.
I said it, but it's come on, a central banker. And Machiavel, it is a synonym, and he is finishing the job. And the two aspects you need to finish the job: economically, by imposing a top-down structure like a Sovietization, and you have to finish it culturally by depriving people of their right to worship anything they want, especially the Christian religion. And we see it; he's attacking both sides, the economy and the culture. I think it is somebody, Matthew Herod, was talking about two ways to deprive a civilization culturally and economically. They're doing both at the same time.
And he's satisfied to allow immigrants to openly mug people in broad daylight and steal their cars and have it caught on film, and the cops do nothing about it.
They do nothing about it. Nothing.
So then what happens when white bread defends his vehicle with lethal force?
It is coming.
That already happened. That farmer in was it Saskatchewan defended the First Nations kids tried to rob his car, almost rammed his son, and he shot one of them dead. And Trudeau came out and said, "No, this isn't right. We're gonna try him again."
Yes, but it is coming.
That's double jeopardy.
After a certain time, we will arrive at a tipping point, and people will go out on the street. Now we see this in London. We see this in Ireland. We don't see it in France because French, they are, I would say, they're still too much brainwashed by the French Revolution, 250 years, but they're still brainwashed. But it is coming. And I had an interview this week, and Uncle Reynald Rollo, he said, you don't need the mass to do a revolution. You need 10 to 15% of courageous people, men and women, and you can overcome the tyranny. But you need to unite. Can we unite in Canada? I think we can.
Well, we know that's true because the LGBTQ revolution had about not even 2% of the population and rolled us over for 20 years.
Well, right? Yes, and with the funny part with the LGBTQ and all those vowel and consonants of the alphabet, I'm sorry, gay for Palestine or lesbian for Palestine, good luck in 5 years. Good luck, I can guarantee you. Good luck. They will now. The women, liberal women, they're starting to whine now because they're aggressive on the street and they're starting to complain that they're not in security in Canada. You ask for it.
That's right.
You ask for it, you will have it.
Yeah.
Let men do the job, and speak up, and I would say be rational also. Women are emotional.
I'm feeling a prophecy coming on.
I'm not a prophet. Thank God. I'm not Nostradamus.
Thank God, because y'all would burn.
I want to go back to what Tim said and simplify it, where he's talking about Canada, the myth, and no property rights, and the church technically didn't have a right. If we live in a society where people think the purpose of government is to keep us safe, and permits are one of the tools that allow us to do that, then by all means what the guy did and what the church did is wrong, because the church didn't own that church, the government owns it, and they should have gotten a permit. That's not the world I want to live in. But I want to see a Canada where people say, no, I don't want a fucking permit to operate fireworks or to go fishing, and to stop only focusing on the symptoms, which is this poor guy trying to sing in a church.
In 1970, I wrote this to you, Tim, in payment. In 1970, we had a neighbor who was taking beer can with duct tape, and he was doing a long tunnel. And you purse. Don't listen to this because RCMP will come at my house. It's not a course. Huh? I'm not teaching. And he was using gas lighter, and we were putting tennis ball, and you can blow up like a cannon. And we were playing with this in 1970. Today we would be considered terrorists and put in jail. The new generation are in virtual reality, and they're so afraid to go out. Huh? The Alberta flag was removed yesterday from the Safeway grocery store because somebody complained that the Alberta flag is offending them. I said, okay, the next day I said, okay, I will buy all the flag of Canada, all the provinces and territory. I will put them on a mat that goes to the moon so the leftists cannot take them down. This is completely ridiculous. We have to defend Canada. It's only us who can defend it. So the sovereignty can come from the people, not from the crown.
What if the people are sovereign to begin with?
Say that again.
What if the people are sovereign to begin with?
They are.
And we have what's that word? Not abrogated. What is it when you step down from being a king? What's that? It begins with an A.
Abdicate.
Thank you. What if in the lure of this safety that government has promised us, right? We have literally abdicated our sovereignty as humans as well. My son says you have to be careful. You can't use the word person. You can't use the word human because these are maritime law phrases that have turned us into chattel for transfer, right? For under maritime law, that the word man and the word woman remain fundamental over time, right? So my sovereignty as a man or Sue's sovereignty as a woman, and we stand on that, they cannot take that. So it becomes at a low level a war of words. But understanding that we must become independent of the states on which whose teat we suckle, right? Because the state giveth and the state giveth and the state taketh. Blessed be the name of the state. And so if according to what I've been reading and listening to, it is true that the 13 regions of Canada are actually independent states, and that the original intent given to the people was a confederacy, right? A confederation of independent states. But under law, we're conned into believing that they were no longer colonies, but a dominion of Canada, and then some fancy side language that's still over in England, because we haven't actually repatriated that, identifies it, well, actually, you're still colonists. But if you want to believe, right, then that's fine by us. We don't care. But the idea that the Canadian Constitution, the original, is in the UK, and that what we have is a photocopy. I mean, are you kidding me?
What am I looking at here, Andre?
Well, it's a small quote from a novel from Nicolas Gogol, Taras Bulba, who was a Cossack Zaporozhye, and they are fighting the Zaporozhye. It is in Ukraine, eastern part of Ukraine, and in the novel, it is Taras Bulba who's saying they're defending the nature of sovereignty. And if I can read it just very rapidly, he says, "If so, it will be done as you wish. I am the servant of your will. It is a known thing. A holy scripture says it, that the voice of the people is the voice of God. It is impossible to imagine anything more sensible than what the people imagine." End quote. Why I like this quote, it is because the will of God, take it as a sovereignty, the will of the people. It is the people who are sovereign. And the crown is supposed to be there like a father guiding people. But I think Tim is right. The provinces are sovereign, and we have to, we are entering into maybe a constitutional conflict with the referendum, the potential referendum in Alberta. And that's the advice I gave to Albertans. Beware, you need great leaders who will stand up to the crown and the king, or the Privy Council, if we can use this expression, and say, we will negotiate. And I will end on this. Daniel Johnson was saying equality or independence. We are equal or we are independent. There's no other choice.
So 2 weeks ago, I was very adamant that there was no universe in which Alberta could declare actual territorial sovereignty from Canada. And the same would be true for Quebec, obviously. Today, I have a different view. And that is, if your provinces and territory want to break free from the chokehold of Ottawa, which includes London, Buckingham Palace, New York even, right? Then turn off the tap. Stop remitting taxes. Full stop.
Well, I
That's
do
it.
agree with you, Tim, and you know why? You know your opinion is changing because times is accelerating. But what you're saying, I do agree. But I would say first of all, you know, through mainstream media, we know that it's only propaganda anymore. That there's no journalism anymore. So advising people to get out of this matrix, start to think by themselves, and slowly move toward alternative media. We don't say that we have the truth, but we're trying to find a way out of this. So but it will accelerate. It will accelerate because after a certain time, like I always say, when it will be minus 25 in your house in January, and it is minus 25 outside, you will not stay home. You will
Right.
go on the barricades, and maybe you will have a drum, and you will have fire, and you will, like the Freedom Convoy in 2022. They were out sleeping in their car, bringing diesel and gas, entertaining people, cooking, because they were saying, wait, we arrive at the limit. That was an historic moment for Canada. We have to inspire ourselves like this. And I don't say insurrection and violence, but standing up.
I just want to follow up on what Tim said. Stop remitting your taxes. I think the first step to getting there, we have to come up with some sort of hero culture where when we find out somebody's been convicted of tax evasion, we turn them into like a local folk
right?
hero.
So this is the children of the nation of Israel in the wilderness. They all took care of each other. Now, granted, that's 2.25 million people that started out that way, and they took a lot of wealth with them, right? So that's a different setup. Whereas here, we're looking at disparate people in different socioeconomic sections of life around different parts of their country and the province, etc. But if, let's say, the house next door to me is an RCMP officer here in my town, and let's say I find out that he actually stood up to his superior officer and said, no, not doing it. And let's say, because now they have a union, let's say the union busted his hump for going against the grain, right? And the RCMP busted his hump for going against. So now if I find out, now that I've said this out loud, right, I have a moral obligation to help him pay his bills, to help him feed his family. I have a moral obligation because he stood on what I've been saying for 2 or 3 years, well, longer, but that those of us, and I'm not included in this group, those of us who have thrown themselves on the barbed wire, and then people like me who have not gone over their dying corpse to take the territory. And right, because that's World War I, that's World War II type of language. We have people throughout our entire country. The popular ones right now are Baber and Litch. I have Barry Neufeld out here in British Columbia. There are doctors and nurses and researchers and the police officers and other professionals who have been torn apart publicly. Right? They have thrown their bodies on the barbed wire, and we have an obligation to financially, physically, emotionally support them.
You know, you say moral obligation. That reminds me of all of the money that went to the Freedom Convoy. And I guess the government they felt they had an obligation, a duty to confiscate that money, to nip it in the bud.
They did because they thought they owned it. There's a difference.
Well, right? you know what happened. You know what happened with the GoFundMe. It took 2 days. It was up to $10 million, and they start to freeze bank account of people who were giving money. They refunded me. They shut down the GoFundMe, and they refunded me. And my bank sent me a warning saying that I was under scrutiny. I was like, what? What is, and that was, I saw a lot of people who had their bank account frozen. People have the tendency to forget. That was 3 years ago.
That's
3
right.
years ago. That was a test run. Today we see it with Sean Fudge, and now it is through, like I was saying, cultural war and economic war. They are using both strategy.
Wasn't there a lawyer who just had her bank account shut down?
Eva Chipiak.
Chipiak, she received a letter from the RBC. Great. RBC Bank. Nice, huh? It's incredible. But anyway, when you put your money in a bank, it's not your money anymore.
So, and this goes back way back almost a year ago when we were first starting Cerberus, when we pretty much ended every show saying where our government is hell-bent on destroying the family, we rebuild the family. And we commit to participating in our community and its social and civic functions, right? Soccer coach, working at, volunteering at the library, whatever way to inject our view, because if we are a quote unquote good citizen, and I don't mean that in a crown sense, I mean as a human being, and we're portraying a good example to the youth, right, to the boys and the girls, the young men, the young women in our community, then that's a chair that the enemy is not sitting in, right? They have replaced us because we're on the back heel. They have absolutely replaced us in the last 10 years. So it's our turn to replace them.
We're at the 1 hour mark. This was a good conversation, but should we go to the other ones?
Didn't I say we don't talk about this fella for 10 minutes?
I believe you said 15, but we're 40 minutes over.
Right.
It was a good conversation.
What were the other 2 points? The other 2 points are boring. It's just Carney.
They are, especially the one with
Mr. Who.
Yeah. Why don't we segue into that with something Sue said way at the beginning? I'm going to read this. First, Maclean's does a join EU piece. Now polling company. Holy shit, Sue, that's horrible. First, Maclean's puts out an article on joining the EU, and now polling companies, they're doing polling showing that Canadians want to integrate with the EU. Has the propaganda started? Sorry, Sue, that was so poorly worded. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Like they're really pushing this EU thing hard.
So
go ahead, Tim.
Sue,
beauty before age.
Well, I'll take it. First to Sue, www.grammarly.com.
She's not going to let you get off the hook for that one.
I'm sorry, but I demand at least a grade 10 reading level. That's just my standard. The idea of Canada reaching back across the pond, is that not a reinforcement of our status as a colony? I just thought of that. It is. It's a reinforcement of our status as a colony. Right. So basically, we're Britain's ex, and we're good now. So we've been rehabilitated. We're not those American loving, right, colonists anymore. So Europe wants us back, mostly because Europe has no freaking resources, has no freaking money. So they want to take it out of us. I mean, how many times has Carney made noise about our mineral resources and using the mineral resources to pay for our NATO obligation? That sounds familiar. Didn't I just say 10 minutes ago that they allowed us to treated us as a colony so that they could use our resources and our labor to pay for their war reparations for the American Civil or the American Revolution? So it's a repeat. It's a repeat.
Well, what you're mentioning about Europe and Canada is funny because, Europe, the old aristocracy, and Canada, the colony with a lot of natural resources. And you saw this week, Trump signed an agreement with Ursula von der Leyen, $750 billion. And immediately after that, Ursula von der Leyen, which comes from a very old family, she made a press conference. She said, "Oh, it's a great honor to have an agreement with Donald Trump and United States, but we don't have the money to pay for this." What will happen? The Central Bank of Europe will print euros. It will be CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency, and they will shift toward digital currency. Why I say this? It's because they will try to stand up to Russia and China through Europe, and they will impoverish the colonies. Australia, we saw the rocket of Australia this week. It was a very epic moment. 18 seconds in the air. But Canada is the same thing. They will steal all the natural resources to, let's say, to put Europe on testosterone and to continue fueling Ukraine, which is the center of the conflict. Ukraine, it is the I would say the border or the zone that of friction. It's like in geology, the tectonic
Yes.
plate. It's always there. I was talking about the Rimland and the Heartland, and it's always there. And through the Caspian Sea and the south, they will try to reach China. It's a historic moment. All the colonies, Canada, United, Australia, New Zealand, all the regional economy will be deprived of their sovereignty very fast because they're trying to build empires. The British Empire never ended. It just shifted, and now they're trying to do it. Can Donald Trump stop that? I don't think so. He will fight, but it's not him who should fight. It's us, so American and Canadian.
If Europe doesn't have the money to pay for that trade agreement,
they don't.
And they're not going to get that kind of money quickly from Canada's resources because we don't have refinery capacity because we
don't have infrastructure. We don't have infrastructure.
We never built it. We can dig it out of the ground, right? We can cut it down. We can put it in the ground and grow it and harvest it. We can pull it out of the sea and et cetera. But we don't have the resources, like I said, the infrastructure on that scale to that quickly supply Europe's need.
Of course not.
Right? So what happens when they default?
Well, that's the beauty of virtual reality. The West live in a parallel universe. You see diplomats in Europe, you see Rubio in United States, you see Kellogg in Ukraine, the General Kellogg, you see they are completely in a virtual reality. They cannot face the defeat, the strategic defeat that they are facing now. They're losing through for a multipolar environment, and they will not win. That's why I was talking about Nero. Don't forget that what you mentioned is very important. We don't have the infrastructure. Liquid natural gas in Quebec, in the Saguenay region on the north of Quebec, they scrapped the plan. It was 7-8 years ago, and we're not supposed to have shale gas in Quebec. No oil, no development, no natural gas. It's all electric vehicle and everything. Now the lunatic in the National Assembly, who was supposed to be Prime Minister of Quebec, is starting to talk about liquid natural gas in the Saguenay. Why? Where's net zero? Net zero. It will be what? Net zero for us. And who will, we are in a very dangerous time, but we are also in a very interesting time because we can seize that opportunity to question ourselves about what is freedom, what is the Constitution, like what the American did 250 years ago.
Are we, does anybody care about Pierre Poilievre? Is anybody following the by-election?
Who?
Yes.
The man's a squatter in Stornoway. I want him evicted.
Well, me, I was following a little bit because there's a by-election in Quebec. And okay, Pierre Poilievre is still the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. You have the Conservative Party of Quebec, and there's a by-election August 11th. It's coming in 1 week and a half. And who are riding in this riding? You have Alexandre Boissonnault from the Parti Québécois, who is at 37% of intention of vote, and equal to him. And Alexandre Boissonnault, he's an ex-journalist of Radio-Canada, but he's more famous because he was arrested at the Summit of America in 2002 with a smoke bomb, and he did 45 days of jail, and they paint him as, he was a far left, and they paint him as not a terrorist, but a very, very aggressive activist. Now he's running for the Parti Québécois, and he's opposing who? Éric Duhem, who is the leader of the Conservative Party of Quebec. And they are nose to nose to see who will win who will win. And all the mainstream media in Quebec are depicting Duhem like a far right, but they cannot associate them with Poilievre and the Conservative Party of Canada, because the Conservative Party of Canada distance themselves from the Conservative Party of Quebec. You say, wait, you're both Conservative Party. How come you're not helping campaigning, door knocking? No, they do provide nothing to the Conservative Party of Quebec because they are not aligned ideologically. So the Conservative Party of Quebec is a fake, and Poilievre, I think he will win in Alberta because he's part of the establishment.
He will win.
That's the only reason.
He will win because what's his face, who since stepping down got himself a cushy appointment as in a lobby group. So that was his pay. That was his scratch.
Yes.
Right. Now that was his scratch, and the media didn't blink an eye, and federal conservative voters didn't blink an eye, with obvious despotism, didn't blink an eye. Poilievre will win. Simply, he could lose 20-30% of his support and still win. Because I can't remember his name, Derek or whatever, I can't remember his name, had 82.5% of the vote. He could lose 50% and still win.
You know why we call him Mr. Who? Because we don't hear about him. He didn't want to attend in a debate, I think this week, and it is funny because he goes under the radar. It's like the by-election in Alberta for federal by-election. He goes under the radar, meaning don't make wave. You will go through and you will go back slowly by the back door in the House of Commons. You will be elected. Then after that, you can come back and start to do a speech and your show in the House because you will have your seat. Now he cannot. He does not go on alternative media. No real politician will go on mainstream media. They are so afraid of us. They're so afraid of us answering questions from ordinary citizens because we're not all stupid. We're capable of asking questions. The Paris Accord, the Bill C4, and I can name a lot of things that the Conservative did with the agreement of Pierre Poilievre. So he's swimming under the water. He will be elected, like Tim said, maybe with 20% less vote, but he will still win.
Yeah,
he will still win.
I think, yeah. During the election, Pierre opened his fool mouth and openly pandered, right, out in his neck of the woods to a particular group, openly pandered, and the West, to a degree, punished him for that. I think he was the heir apparent. I stand beside what I said. I think he was the heir apparent. I think the Conservatives were supposed to be this current leader of the government. I really do. And I think that dummy got so comfortable. I got a 30-point lead. There's no way we can lose this.
Come on.
And it was stupid enough to miscalculated. Misread. He misread the room, right? Which is a common thing right lately. He misread the room and he got punished. But I think that whoever is above him pulling the string says, chill, relax, we got this. There's still a place for you, but this is your last chance. Keep your effing mouth shut. We will do the rest. But he can't help it. He can't help it because he's fucking Roy Rogers on a white horse, right? Riding down, like, boggles my mind, right? It's the only thing he hasn't done is tromp his Venezuelan bride around and have her con everybody into believing that she's, the next wife of Camelot. He needs to keep his frickin' mouth shut, and I think this time he is, and they're going to win. And then when he goes back into Parliament, finally gets back in his chair and gets back into Stornoway and says, see, I belonged here all the time, because he'll say something stupid about it.
Back in the club.
Yes, back in
I
the
think
club.
I
This
think
time
he's
he'll
done.
keep his mouth shut and let Carney do what Carney needs to do, as far as the overlords are concerned.
I think his only purpose is to just, if he resigns now, it probably does too much damage to the Conservative Party. So they're like, win your seat, and then we'll have a leadership review and we'll vote you out.
Maybe,
So
but there's one thing. I was writing that you want to make the Conservative a millionaire, give them 1 billion, and wait. And that's
Yeah.
just exactly what happened. Tim mentioned he had a 30-point lead
Yeah.
last November, and
Yeah.
he blew up the machine.
Yeah.
Incredible. Okay, we know the propaganda, the psyop with elbows up and everything, and like the payment, you always say they did COVID mandate 2.0 with this psyop, but the fool helped the machine by always pandering and opening his mouth and saying, they pumped his chest. He's wearing contact lenses. He's like a very nice, handsome man. Shut up and smile, you will win. No, the man had to open his mouth. He's right. Tim is right.
Yeah. I wonder what if I was his overlord, would I do that? It's okay, Poilievre. It's okay, Pierre. It's okay. I understand. I get that you were excited. Yes, you blew the fucking election, but that's okay because we brought Carney's got. We're okay. We're going to be okay. You and the Reds are. You guys will be fine because we'll get you back in the office. It's okay. There's a place for you. And in the back, they're going. The moment that son of a bitch gets back in office, we're calling a leadership review, right? Right. Where's Michelle and Caroline? You got them in line? Good.
Well, you know what happened in April 28th. Pierre, it's okay. Shit, Pierre, you peed in your pant again.
It's so painful.
Let's come and change the diapers.
The freaking golden child, and he blew it. And he's going to blow it
too
again.
Excited. Children, when they are too excited, then they pee in their pants and they can. Right. So that's exactly what happened. He was too excited and he lost everything.
There was that famous Olympic sprinter, a runner. He's running, he's near the end, and he starts cheering, and then somebody goes past him.
Right.
Same thing.
Yeah. So I feel that there's a very Cold War spy novel, a very Jean Le Carré element in here, where they bring him back into office only to stab him publicly themselves, so that the rest of the plebes know we did this. He stepped out of line. We did this. He stepped out of line. Don't you step out of line.
Okay, it was supposed to be the next Caesar.
I think so.
They will bring him in. So who will stab him in the back, in the house?
Oh, who's that loser? Scheer? Andrew
Scheer. We started to see Andrew Scheer more often on X and on mainstream media than Poilievre. So maybe Scheer will arrive and he will stab and he will say, okay, I win. Why a leadership race? Carney was nominated. Why not for the Conservative Party? They have a precedent now.
Wasn't it Scheer that had to resign during the convoy?
Yes.
And it was Pierre who replaced him?
Yes.
So maybe
it was who was there? Michel
the comeback of the century.
Right?
Rempel, who was yes.
And this is the stuff straight out of a 70s spy novel.
Yes.
Because it's remarkably Bolshevik, right? Because the man he ousted brings him back in so that he can kill him publicly.
Okay, you have the triumvirat or the troika, Kamenev, right. Trotsky, and Stalin, and you have the picture. You have Stalin, Kamenev, and Trotsky. Then you have the picture. You don't see Trotsky, and then the last picture you just see Stalin.
Right. Yeah. So now I have. It's been months since I've had a prediction. Okay. So there's a new prediction. Pierre will win a seat. We all know that. We all know that. He'll go back to Stornoway. They'll almost immediately, can't do it right away. Got to wait like 3 months or something. They'll call a leadership convention, And in the leadership convention, they will intentionally manipulate the phasing, right, the separate ballot voting process, so that he has the appearance that he's going to win their confidence, only to lose it at the end, so that he will be publicly shamed and be forced to deliver a humiliation ritual.
And after that, most probably he will resign, and he will
That's
be
right.
named senior advisor at the United Nations with a
He'll be
$500,000
Yeah, I was
salary.
gonna say,
named-
poor guy, walking into
I
the
think-
sunset with a $500,000 salary.
Those are the revolving doors of
I think
politics.
Carney will make him the ambassador to the Falkland Islands.
As far as possible.
Yeah. Where are you going, Pierre? I've been made ambassador to where? Antarctica.
So what's the
Yeah.
other subject? You were talking about who?
Carney.
You were talking about Carney.
So we
Oh,
went
Carney.
from Pierre Who to the carnivore.
I don't know. Do you guys want to cover Carney and his fascination with Palestine?
We got
Well-
that goes back to the Christian concert conversation. Why is he
Yeah.
fascinated with Palestine? Because he's agitating a Christian versus Islam conflict. He's intentionally agitating it.
Well,
it's
he's
not-
acting exactly like Donald Trump, who's agitating, retaliation against Russia. It was supposed to be 50 days, then it was 10 days, then it was 2 days, then it is tomorrow. And the Russian
timing.
are making memes in Russia toward the threat of Donald Trump. Carney is acting the same way, putting gas on fire. Let's not forget that there is a genocide and a Holocaust in Gaza. Actually,
I think that Carney is in the driver's seat, regardless of what Trump does or doesn't do to Canada, because the people behind Trump, his team behind him, not the ones around him, they're all red idiots. There you go. They're all red idiots. But the people above and behind him understand that this is a long game. And if the long game means 10 years, which is short, but then they understand that. So the jousting between Carney and Trump it's chess, right? It's chess. And it's not chess in 3D or chess in 4D. It's simple chess. It takes time. It takes time. We don't have to overcomplicate. I'm going to overcomplicate it, but we don't have to overcomplicate it, right? It's put one piece, watch the reaction. Put the next piece, watch the reaction. And they're both jockeying for a position. And Carney, while he may not have the bravado that Trump has, he certainly puts on some pretty good theater. It's not drama, but you're like, why is he doing that? That makes no sense. And that's still theater.
I was going to say the timing is it's just very transparent. Macron, Starmer, Schultz, I think, and now Carney, they're all coming out and they're saying we're going to recognize Palestine. Yeah. Why were you guys not doing this 40 years ago, 50 years ago? What changed?
Because
it's rhetorical. They're probably going after Trump.
Right. So now they're trying to piss off the pro-Israel base in America, and it'll work. Work. The problem is there's plenty of pro-Israel base in the city of London as well.
Well, what you're mentioning, in the Congress, they voted yesterday. 27 members of the Congress voted against supplying Israel with more weapons. 27 Democrats voted against. So they're starting to understand. And I'm sorry, the seat of Netanyahu is very hot now. It's burning, even in the Knesset. So I think Carney doesn't have the choice. It's not his choice, first of all. He doesn't have the choice. It was not the choice of Trudeau. It's not the choice of Macron. It's the choice, the pressure of the international community. I don't like the expression because I don't believe in it. But it's the pressure of everybody. Let's forget about the expression. The pressure is rising like it is a genocide. It is a Holocaust. Even some member of parliament of the Knesset are talking about the Holocaust. They interiorize the Shoah, and they're retaliating and acting the same way. That's a typical masochist behavior. And now even in Israel it is collapsing. People wants to get out of Israel. People who are immigrants from let's say ex-Soviet Union, immigrated 20, 25, 30 years ago, who are Israeli, they want to go out. People don't want to do business with Israel anymore. So I'm sorry, Carney, he's just acting. He doesn't have the choice. The pressure is everywhere. It's everywhere. It's even inside Canada with the manifestation, and we see it everywhere. So it's just the pressure is rising. And he doesn't have the choice. He complies, like you said, payment with compared with Macron, with Starmer. They all have to declare it. The two-state solution. Like you said, why they didn't do it 40 years ago? Because now the pressure is there. Now it's an historic moment. It's an historic moment, and they can. When history goes, nobody can stop it. Sorry, I dropped my earphone. Nobody can
That's
stop
all, folks.
So
it
all
ceases.
right. So if
Sorry.
this is a historic moment, what's the effect? What's next?
Well, I have the feeling that the more it goes, the more Israel will be under pressure, up to a point where the Security Council will have to intervene. Even if it is not working, they will have to intervene. Even Vladimir Putin declared that it was a genocide. It's not a joke anymore. It's not a joke, and it's the same thing in Ukraine. Now we see the same thing in Yemen. So. Where is the order, what we were calling with the United Nations? The United Nations, the order based on rule. There's no rule anymore. It's a new era of empire who will build their alliance with other people. And now we see Canada and United States at war with each other, where they should be allies. They should build an alliance. But you have a globalist. Carney He's a central banker, and he's there to finish the job, to unite European Union and Canada against United States, and they all act the same way. They declare that they will recognize a Palestinian state. That's what we were hoping.
What's sad is it's not just Carney. I know he was parachuted in, but it's millions of Canadians that support England, the crown, the monarchy, over the US.
Because they don't understand the situation.
Exactly.
Because
You're right.
The monarchy / crown that I grew up with were one and the same entity, and they're not. That's the propaganda. But my generation and the boomers obviously grew up believing that the monarchy and the crown were one and the same entity.
Are supposed to be one.
A royal we. Right? And that's what we grew up believing. I myself prefer monarchy over dictatorship. I do. The problem is monarchy as we have it today has been usurped by oligarchy. So our monarchs, particularly those in the West, are expensive hood ornaments.
You said something earlier, Tim. You said the Crown Corporation. That's an expression that is interesting. It is a monarchy, but behind that you have a structure of a corporation. And I think you're right. If you have a balance between the king and the crown, which is the king is supposed to represent the crown and defend people, now it's not what you have. You have a symbol, and you have a corporate crown or a crown corporation. I like the idea, the expression.
Yeah. Once upon a time, as in like 3 minutes ago, I was of a mind that Canada should do its best to remain under one constitution, under one banner, so to speak. I am now of a mind that the 13 provinces and territories in Canada would do better as 13 sovereign states.
Like I said, I was talking about balkanization, and last year, I thought before the election of Trump, I was thinking about the balkanization of the United States, and now I realize that it will be a weak country that will be balkanized, but we could take it as an opportunity, like you said, 13 province and territory who work together
Yeah.
to create something. 13 states, if you want to call them states, or province, if you want to keep the structure, the symbol of Canada, which is a province, you would say, I can keep province. The problem with the word province, it is you have a center and you have province around. If you have state,
in which case the word state must be used intentionally.
I think so. I think
Because
the word province is pejorative in this sense.
Provincial means less than.
Provincial means exactly, and it means far from the center.
Right, which means it's a vassal relationship. It's a vassal relationship.
In French, we have the word bourg, which comes from the German. It is center. Bourg, faubourg, it is false bourgeoisie around. So it is far. When we look at the word province, I think it's the same thing. If we would use the word state, maybe you would have Canada, but with 13 states.
Okay, before we turn into another 1 hour philology lesson, let's try wrapping up the show. I'm a little bit too groggy to do the last words. Tim?
I'm reasonably certain that on certain lists we've been moved up a notch for the watching. Said some pretty inflammatory things, for which so be it. Somebody has to say it. As Payman says, hug your children, and I add, might be the last time. Yeah.
All right.
So, yep.
All right. Well, I guess a big thank you to the audience. Thank you to my co-hosts, and we'll see each other next week, gentlemen.
Thank you. Have a good Saturday night.
Have a good day. Thanks for listening.